Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host, Matt Marrero, along with
Tish Ram. What's up?
your other host. Two hosts,
Me?
as always. Sometimes three.
Hello?
Never four. Hello.
What?
Uh-oh, I think Satish Ram is having some trouble. Satish,
Wait, did you mute me?
I muted you at first, not anymore.
Oh, you can hear me now. We're good.
Yes. No. When you were talking, I put you back in. Sadly, sometimes, there's delays in hearing.
Right.
So,
Anyway,
so sadly.
hey,
So for everyone
I'm
listening,
Tish.
well, no,
What's
yes,
up?
Satish. Yeah, right. We're talking Steven Universe tonight, episodes 33 and 34. We've had a little break ourselves, but thankfully we're jumping back into this. And wow, I mean, I just saw these episodes before we got on, because usually what happens is if I take a break, or we take a break with the shows, usually I take a break watching because other stuff to do in life, et cetera. So I jump back into this, and damn, I'm really upset with what I missed, because even in episodes that have slight or no plot relevance, I can still sit here and go, no, you need to watch it. I like that. With Steven Universe and Gravity Falls, these are shows that you usually can't say, oh, yeah, skip that one. If anyone says, but I only want to watch plot, right? Oh, I don't care about fun. I only want to watch plot.
Yeah, I mean, first off, in its favor, Steven Universe especially has the virtue of the fact that it's, 12 minutes or so?
Yes.
Considering, if you were to skip the ending and the openings, which I wouldn't suggest because I like them both a lot. But, yeah, it's about 12 minutes, give or take. And so you don't lose much by sitting through a filler episode. And you can tell the staff works really hard on something that, even if it can be classified as filler, there's something to be said there. Like, there's a message, or it's quirky and fun. And in general, if you go in there with a good attitude, you'll probably like it. And we had, Garnet's Universe and Watermelon Steven that we're doing today. And technically, Garnet's Universe was straight filler. And Watermelon Steven, in a way, was straight filler. There's some plot points to be taken from it. But they're both very important episodes. They're fun in Garnet's Universe. And I think with Watermelon Steven, it's important that this came after because there's a shift into some more adult themes. And not
some more
as direct yet, but towards the end.
And when we use the word adult here, we don't mean what many people say. Oh, this is adult because there's nudity or there's violence or something. No, just that the message is something that not only should adults take note of, but the idea that it's a great thing to teach kids for the future. These great messages that I think everyone can take, where it's not just something like, oh, eat your vegetables or clean. No, it's, hey, let's stop world wars and let's stop fighting. In a way, that's what I took from it, at least, where it's just, we need to stop fighting. I will sacrifice myself to stop this fighting to make sure that everyone comes out okay. Wow, that really hit hard. Yeah,
Watermelon, it was funny because it was really quirky and fun in the beginning, and I used this exact phrase earlier, but just one of the things, and we'll talk about too, the music is a big thing for me in the show.
Yeah.
And so the Watermelon Steven track is actually one of my favorite ones so far. The little 8-bit music he was playing when he was running around. Well, he was playing that was played when he was running around with the little watermelons trying to wrangle them up.
Yeah, there were a lot of great things, but usually, doing a normal routine where we talk about things in somewhat of an order. Before we do, though, I want to mention our call-in number is 718-664-9468. Now, our call number again, 718-664-9468. It can be used for a multitude of things. However, obviously the idea of calling in to talk about a certain episode, when I mention in order, I'm not saying we're going to be sitting here going, well, in this minute, but what we usually do is we talk about episode 33 before 34. So Garnet's Universe will be first. So if you want to talk about Garnet's Universe, again, totally call in, and, we'll put you through, and you'll be able to, listen, talk. But if you want to just listen in via the phone, well, how do you do that, Satish?
Well, you call in with that exact same number, 718-664-9468. If you don't hit the one button, we won't put you through. I will ask you, however, that if you do call in to talk about Garnet's Universe and or Watermelon Steven, be mindful of the fact that we're obviously behind a few episodes. Now, I've seen them, Matt hasn't, and I know some people who are listening to us may not have seen the newer episodes as well, too. So be mindful not to spoil anything for anyone who might be, listening without getting there yet.
Yeah, you can talk about any, let's say you want to say, oh, well, maybe in this episode it could mean that this will happen in the future. But, so any speculation is fine, but actual spoiling isn't. Also because of the fact that, right now we're live. We won't be in the future when you listen, if you listen to this episode again, we will be taped. Therefore, people will be watching this, or listening to it rather, thinking that, it is in some kind of order, not thinking, oh, I need to see, this episode before, well, you don't need to see 36 before you listen to the podcast on 33 and 34, or something of that nature. Thank you for bringing that up, Stitch. So, right. Yes, you can call in to listen in. And did you mention, sadly I was looking over my notes, did you mention that if you call in and you don't press 1?
Yep, said that exactly. Okay. So we're all good here, I think, on the call-in number board, so let's hit up Garnet's Universe, which was fun.
This is one of my favorites of the entire show thus far.
Oh, dude. It's just so amazing because, how ridiculous was this and how littered with references was it?
Both. I think just the concept. I think the concept of saying, let's have a 10-year-old, not just 10-year-old be the, main character of the show. Let's have the 10-year-old narrate and more so develop an episode himself. And I think that's what's so great about this. Where it was the 10-year-old, what would happen if 10-year-old you got to write a show? And not write an episode. And not just an episode, but about someone you know. Basically, fan fiction amongst your friends, if you will. And then just go. Let that happen. And you got to see that just, all those references there, not even in just anime references, but I mean, you look at the pad, the pad that they were using, and it's the Wii U pad.
Mm-hmm.
Or the controller, right? Because I don't have a Wii U.
And it's just fun because there's a lot of little things that, the more and more the series goes on, the more and more I really appreciate Rebecca Sugar and her staff. And I realize how much this show is targeted to us, our generation. And I'll give you another example that doesn't spoil anything, but in one of the newer episodes, Sour Cream, as a DJ device, has a Game Boy Advance and a Game Boy Advance SP and a Game Boy Color.
Now I can't watch because I know this information. Thank you.
Of course. But no, I just thought, it's amazing because we got that remote here in this episode of Garnet's Universe.
Right.
And I just smiled because I'm like, they're having fun with it. They're having so much fun with what they're doing.
By the way, I find it so interesting that that's from what I remember, from what I've seen, that is the newest piece of technology that we've seen in terms of gaming. Because I remember we've seen the GameCube in the background in Steven's room. But again, it's a GameCube. And you even mentioned, oh yeah, look, the SP, the Advance. Yeah. That's an SP and Advance. They're a Nintendo product, sure, but they're still older. So it's very interesting to see just a Wii U pad. Or a Wii U controller. Oh wow, that's actually new.
It takes me back to when you play Pokemon. You always have a game system in your room.
Yeah.
And I'm always amused at the fact, throughout the generations, where I think, if I turn on yellow, it's oh, look, it's a SNES. And now you turn on... Yeah, no, and you turn on... You put on Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire, and it's wow, it's a Wii U, and I'm like, fuck.
That's great.
We have progressed, and it's just kind of amusing to me because I always check for humor to see what has what game system is in there now, and it makes me feel it's little subtle stuff in Steven Universe that'll make me smile. I mean, I can tell that they're targeting that towards us because all right, you look at something like the Wii U and it's a bit more applicable to, let's say, any kid right now or anyone because we can identify okay, that's a remote from current day tech. But, things like the Game Boy or the GameCube from earlier episodes, it's that stuff's for us. Because we're going to sit there
really nice.
Man, GameCube, Game Boy, holy crap, and just kind of smile at it. Plus, the infusion of, 8-bit music is a big thing. Because it's
Right, and then...
Go ahead.
Oh, then you were saying. I was going off a different topic. We're on the air right now. You can't see me smiling. But we're on the air right now.
It was funny. I was and the second you're and I stopped because my mind was screeching halt. And it was let's just hope Matt rolls with this one in this interruption.
I hope that if we're still doing this 10 years from now, we can still have stuff like this happen. Just be we are amateur professionals. We are sponsored by company here.
I mean, I think
I
think we sound decent. It's just every now and then we're freaking human. So I'll sit there and we interrupt each other a lot because we're used to the way that we talk. And sometimes it'll be like, right, I can finish that thought, or fuck, thank God he interrupted.
All right, good. But I'm happy to have interrupted then. All right. So as I was saying, I like this as you mentioned before. This, and we both know this episode was video game based. I really enjoy that because, growing up on video games, you can really see the little things here and there. And I just love the fact that when you see Ringo, or Ronaldo, I immediately go, yeah,
Ringo.
I immediately knew he was a shaman, though, and that's why I was so excited. Because he tells me, really, he's saying, I'm the keeper for the, item in the shrine. And I was like, yes, you are. I knew that you were. Just something about his, even though he wasn't exactly, what you would see, but it was just the ring, on his head and everything. I was like, yeah, no, shaman. I knew it. I called it. And also, did you notice our voice actors for this episode?
I don't recall as much as I may have when I first watched it, so go ahead and tell me what.
That's what's great about it. The fact that, the frog was Pearl. And then the rabbit was Amethyst.
Amethyst.
Mm-hmm. And then the fox was Lars. Just little slight changes to their voice, and I was like,
no, it's fine. In my head, I thought you were going to say, and Mark Hamill was actually I'm like, no, I thought they were just the characters from before. Because you could identify the voices if you listened, and I think it was fun.
Yes. Because I think the best...
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, imagine the idea of, presenting this to your voice cast. You're going to do pretty much the same voice. Also, I'm doing a piece for Amethyst. No, you're a purple rabbit. What?
Yeah, it was just, it was just great. It was wonderful, especially because I don't think the voice was exactly the same, which I think was great about it. Which I liked.
Different.
They were slightly different, but I think they were different enough where I don't know if a kid exactly. I mean, because as a kid, I loved voiceover stuff, and when I got older, now. What the fuck? It's really weird. It's like, yeah, man, when I get older, Matt, you're 22. Where did my life go? But anyway, now I want to, work in voiceover stuff. So now I'm always sitting there just like, whose voice is this? Because, it's such a small community. So I sit there, I'm like, whose voice? I'm like, oh, it is still them. It's just Steven being, taking, of course, Garnet travels with, the team. But it's just, but this one is a frog and this one's a rabbit, who's a samurai. By the way, just rabbit samurai with anime cuts. It's just wonderful. Oh, man. Also, by the way, so obviously, we mentioned all these references. Garnet was training to become a Super Saiyan. And I want to mention that not only was she training to become a Super Saiyan under a waterfall, she was in a Super Saiyan stance under the waterfall. And everyone's like, well, yeah, duh. I mean, that's just how they look. No, but the specific stance is very interesting because of, and maybe it's just me, but the way it all set up looked like when Future Trunks was training with adult Gohan in the history of Trunks, where it's like, come on, Gohan, feel it. Feel your anger. And he's like, and he couldn't really do it then, which was very interesting because she powered up, but she didn't really become the, she
didn't achieve her power level yet.
What she did later. Oh my God, that was great later too, where it was just, where it's just the whole idea of weighted clothes is just weighted hair. Oh my, her power level is. I was like, no. Stop this. Let's all stop this.
Because I think
Please.
they legit said her power level, and I just lost it. Because I'm like, this is great. This is absolutely incredible. Credit to the animation staff, for the record. I really thought it was charming in terms of doing that ridiculousness.
Yeah. Oh man. And then of course, we have to, love the staff, who comes up with these ideas. And who scripts them. Because when you look at some of the lines in here, it was a bit like the anime referenced, episode of Gravity Falls where we had the dating sim.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, to anyone who hasn't seen Gravity Falls, who I have to sit, who sometimes you have to sit here and say, no, look, watch Gravity Falls, just watch it. There was a dating sim episode. It happened. Go watch Gravity Falls. But so anyway, so speaking of Steven Universe, though, you can see some of these lines, and you sit there and just go, "This is great." Like you've been playing some Fantasy Life recently.
Yes, quite often, actually.
So you can see a lot of the jokes in there and go, either this was localized, as in, localized being not exactly translated because some jokes don't translate, so localization is just making up new jokes in the spirit of the old ones, right? Or sometimes when we see older things like Power Rangers and the earlier Dragon Ball Z before Funimation dubbed it over, when it was the Ocean dub, right? Funimation distributed but did not dub over at that time. So when you see, you have a lot of things that were inserted, right? A lot of jokes or just a lot of general lines. You might know, Satish, that famous line where Vegeta says that, Goku's father was a brilliant scientist. Didn't happen. Things like that. Or in other places, where you have like Big Green and all this other stuff. Basically, the point is that in this episode we got, "How dare you insult my cooking skills?" Yeah, just sorry, the last one ruined my appetite. "How dare you insult my cooking skills?" That is just everything that is late 80s, 90s about anime in those in those types of dubs ever.
There are people who are more versed in like general anime and just the culture compared to me. And so it's a lot of fun where like you look at the like little references and like the moves and stuff going on. And people have told me like, "Oh, that was a Fist of the North Star reference," which when Garnet does her super fast punching, they're like, "Oh, that's a Fist of the North Star." Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, that's fun." And they mentioned things to me that I'm not familiar with, like Saint Seiya, but I think you're familiar with.
Oh, yes. Well, this entire show arguably could have possible. I usually think Sailor Moon, though, because I was more into Sailor Moon when I was a kid. But Saint Seiya, yes, obviously. Or, as some others may know it as, but no one really references it as. But if you don't know, if you're sitting here and you're like, "I don't know what Saint Seiya is," Knights of the Zodiac, if maybe anyone here has ever heard of that, that's what it was brought over as.
What we know over here. Yeah, I was going to say is the more common name.
Yes.
Yes. And of course,
but Saint Seiya.
Yeah, and then, you were mentioning before, like, the Trunks Gohan scene, just the direct Dragon Ball Z references. And it was just fun.
I mean, the weighted hair is easily right there. I mean, if anyone remembers, when Goku and Piccolo fought Big Green. No.
Yeah,
Goku and Piccolo fought Raditz.
The weighted I was thinking Piccolo's weighted cape, and it made me laugh so hard because the Scouter, they used a legit Scouter. And I was just laughing so hard because of the ridiculousness of that. Like, you know what? We're not even going to go around it. Just directly have a Scouter. And the Scouter skips 9,000.
Yeah. Oh,
which is subtle and perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's like, But...
by the way, when I mentioned the "How dare you insult my cooking skills," and we had a good laugh about that, and I mentioned how the original Dragon Ball Z dub was by Ocean dub. I want to make note, and but this ties into my notes as well. I want to make notes that Saban, we're also with Funimation in distributing. Why is Saban relevant? Saban adapted Super Sentai into Power Rangers in America. Power Rangers is also notorious for things like this, where it's just, where, let's say in the Japanese version, Super Sentai, if anyone doesn't know, Power Rangers is originally Super Sentai from Japan. The show is adapted with American actors into English using the Japanese fight footage. So when we have, in Japan, it might be like, oh, I'm not, by the way, not saying that Japan doesn't do puns. Japan loves puns to the point of they love puns. That's all we have to say. Satish knows exactly what I'm talking about. But you might just have he's like, I'm not a big fan. When you have, let's say, a character who's just like, let's say a Frozen type, like, let's say, Mr. Freeze type, if you will, right? Let's just pretend there's a villain. In Japan, maybe there'd be a pun, there might not be. In America, ice to meet you. Having an ice day.
God damn it.
We're going to make sure, we're going to, what was it? Like, we're just going to, I'm not good at these. We're going to unfreeze your soul. No, that's more of a Japan thing, actually. Japan would definitely say something like that. We're going to unfreeze your icy heart. Here, my firing fist. But Firing Fist won't even be in Japanese. It'll be like, Fighting Fist! Oh no, I've melted from your Firing Fist!
I'm actually inclined to believe these are actual lines of dialogue from something that I just haven't seen yet.
Yeah, you're sitting here like, Matt can't come up with that. He got that.
The, Ice to Meet You were actual things that I can't...
Well, Ice to Meet You is actually the joke from, from what's it called? From Batman and Robin. That was Schwarzenegger said, Ice to Meet You.
That's why I did that voice, because in my head it's like, I distinctly remember Ice to Meet You. And I was like, damn it, Arnold.
But
Arnold Schwarzenegger can be a good actor, but just not as Mr. Priest. I don't know. No,
I understand. I'm right there.
I thought you could be like, I understand. I was like, don't. Yeah,
I get you. No, it becomes like the Family Guy joke with Matthew McConaughey going, "Yeah, I don't like my movies either. I get you. I understand. I'm right there." But as Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm not even a big fan of my own movies either. I was a terrible governor. No, I'm right there. No.
He understands. He knows.
Yeah.
But
I don't even know how I got it. I told them, no, don't give it to me, but I was voted in, so But what is it? I had a point. My point was that I really I don't enjoy it so much when they when things are inserted, but it's happened. So and obviously this is the age range, because when I look at many of these creators, I sit there and I think, wow, I can actually work towards this. It makes you feel like one day you can become one of in that position, because for a very long time, of course, even in the 90s, we had, good stuff. And I'm not even going to say the early 2000s we had terrible things. But, it's very nice to have a show that in a way doesn't really talk down to either kids or to anyone who really wants to enjoy it. And can also have these references that show that, hey, we're nerds, and not in a way, I think, that dates anyone. And I say dating in the sense that, some shows that are really into, or at least there are people that enjoy nerd things, right? Mm-hmm. They can put their references in, but they don't get as much control. So what will happen is it'll be a thing where you might have the wrong music playing if they want to make a direct reference. I mean, if I'm correct, I remember The Big Bang Theory did a thing. If I'm correct, it was a Super Mario reference. I'm like, yeah, let's play Super Mario, but they didn't say which one specifically. And then the music was, I think, from Old School Mario, but they had Nintendo 64 controllers. So it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm not saying, it's not like I'm going to say, oh, everyone on The Big Bang Theory doesn't know what they're talking about, but there were clearly some, problems somewhere where someone didn't know one thing and then something got put somewhere else and then et cetera, et cetera. Right. So I like that in this show it's just, they're able to not, date or confuse anything, or I won't even say date, it's just the idea of, I think I told you about Scooby-Doo Wrestlemania Mystery, right? Why was that relevant? Because to get to WrestleMania, to get the tickets to WrestleMania, Scooby and Shaggy won the video game that they had. Now, you might say, well, that is far-fetched, right? Well, obviously, yes. But putting that aside, what happened was I think they ended up, what did they do? They did something. First off, they were playing it like if it was a Wii U or something. So it was like a Wii, where it was like a motion capture, thing. So they were doing the wrestling moves to win the match. What got me, I think, was it was like, oh, yes, present your disc or something like that. As if your disc would have that's what it was, yes. Present your disc to WWE, and they will be able to validate your, the fact that you've won. And I'm like, that is not a thing. So it's nice to know that not only do they play games over at the creators of Steven Universe, they haven't stopped. You still have them currently, making these references that, some of them are like, oh yeah, old school 8-bit, but it's not just there, and they're not going to do something where it's like Steven's going to be playing a new game, let's say. Like Steven's like, oh yeah, like he's doing the motion capture stuff, and it's like, oh, what is he playing? And then you'll hear sounds from the, from the 80s or something like that, Or outdated concept.
I agree completely. I mean, they're definitely in tune with their audience. And that's what I was saying before, it feels like it's directed to us, and I like that. And I like that they can spin what feels like even a trope or like just a ridiculous idea and just turn it to something fun. And what I'm referring to is the idea that Ringo, of course, was trying to, he's like, no, I need your help. And then after Garnet, defeats Foxman, everyone's like, oh, man, yes, they won the battle. No, he was actually the big bad. And I just found that so fun. I don't know why. I couldn't explain to you.
I hate that I found it fun because not only did I hate that I couldn't pick it up because in my head it's like, no, but he's a priest. He looks like one. The fact that it was just, again, one of those that always happens. So I should have easily picked up on it.
Yeah, because I'll admit, I didn't pick up on it either because I was sitting there distracted by so much. I'm like, animation style,
enjoying
fun,
it, yes.
Picking out who the voice actors were, and like laughing at all the references that I could figure out. And I'm like, right. I'm into everything. And then when it turns out he's the big bad, I'm not sitting there like looking at the time like, oh, there's 2 minutes left. There must actually be something left, No, I didn't realize it. So when he got the gem, I was like, God damn it. And I laughed a little, because that was basically my mood the entire episode. Like, all right, you got me. Keep going. Keep me going. What else is next?
Also, the fact that, you look at the Fox, and he really looks like he could kick ass, and because of the idea that, in video games, you don't really ask the questions. It's kind of just a script given to you. So in a video game, they would be under the assumption that it's just, oh, you are the bad guy. Well, you are also the bad guy, because you are against me, and I'm doing my job. Didn't mention you were doing your job. Thought that you were bad. No.
Yeah, in my head, it's just you're an aggressive fox and stopping a good person. It's like, oh, no, you're actually a good guy. I killed the guardian. Oh, that's not good. And also littered among the entire episode is, like, the constant reminder that Steven's telling it, and not in the childish, like, attitudes or the ridiculous dialogue or the animation, but the idea that Garnet really, really loves Steven. And he feels relevant. He feels that it's relevant to mention this.
Yes.
No.
In that way,
favorite person in the world.
Have you ever told him? No.
I laughed so hard because in my head I'm like, that's really realistic. Garnet's probably never said it directly, but Steven in his head, it's like when he had Lion in Lion 3, and he just is like, blink if you love me, and then blue in Lion's eyes. It's like, you love me. I laughed so hard. But, yes, so Steven, of course, is supposed to be childish, so he's going to have moments where he's like, of course Garnet loves me more than anything. She ever told you? No. So, of course, that's just his, like, telling the story. Like, have you told him that he's the most... No, I haven't. Well, you should. And it's just like, I laugh. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But I'm into it. I thought it was fun.
Another thing that I enjoyed is, just the obvious... when and again, it's one of those subtle things, but I think if you watch enough anime, or at least shonen, the fighting anime, you really pick it up. Just when Lars Fox, that's his name, Lars Fox, or Foxy Lars, whatever you prefer, Lars Fox said, "What? Impossible!" And I was so excited. You have no idea. I sat there and I thought, this is glorious. This is glorious.
It's fun because, no, you're right, the whole impossible thing is just an anime trope, where it's just the idea of someone, mainly the protagonist, is going to do something that was not conceivable to other people. It's just like, that power level, you could never reach it, impossible. 10 episodes later, they do something else that's impossible. And they just feel the need to put that in. No,
but the way, not even just that, but the way it's said, where it's like, Bakura! Or Nani, it's the idea of just
what?
It's always,
just what? Know what you mean?
That's impossible. And it's great though because it's always this superhero thing. Like, I mean, I remember you and I watched Die Ranger, one of the Japanese Super Sentai Power Ranger series, and it was really funny because of the fact that it would be like every episode. The villain, the superhero villain would, the superhero villain, yes. All the superheroes are villains, yes.
The villain.
But the villain would say, like, what? That's impossible. And it's just like, well, we're the Gosei Sentai, Die Rangers, or the 5-Star Squadron, Die Rangers. And it was just like, and, it's just really interesting. And also, by the way, not just that happened, right, but... Speaking of, why have I mentioned, Japanese superhero stuff, Super Sentai stuff a lot this episode? Because the people who watch, people who work on this show definitely watch. They have to. At least if not those, but here's why. Not those series specifically, but all right. The general, in Japan, what those kind of series are called, right? The Japanese kind of special effects series are called tokusatsu because tokusatsu technically translates to special effects. Now, in Japan, tokusatsu is used for even things like Star Wars and Supernatural because of their special effects. However, of course, in America, just like the word anime, we've taken it and we usually, have put it to things like Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Ultraman, and many of these other Japanese superhero shows. Also, I've said in the past on air superhero, but it doesn't have to just be superhero. I mean, you look at Godzilla, and Godzilla is also tokusatsu.
Right.
This is relevant because of the fact that the Ringo Zone. Now, I don't know if I've ever shown you a full episode of it, but there's another superhero set of series also made by Toei. So there's Super Sentai, there's Kamen Rider, and it doesn't exist anymore. But there used to be something called Space Sheriff, or which was under the branch of Metal Heroes. Now, Space Sheriff Gavan, and also Jaspion and oh no, not on air. Well, while we get our fact checker to work on that. Speaking just of Gavan, so Gavan's villains were.
I like that you made it seem like we had a fact checker who helps us on these shows. we have a wrestling and Pokemon fact checker.
Ignore my mouse clicking in the background.
We have a wrestling and Pokemon fact checker.
We have a fact
we don't
checker.
have a. You're the Super Sentai fact checker, and it's okay to admit that.
I'm fact checking myself.
I think that's fine.
My computer is currently having problems. So what matters is Gavin. What matters is Gavin. Gavin is fighting a space villain mafia. Space mafia. If any of you find this weird, just please step into the cat drugs that is Japanese superhero or just tokusatsu television shows. So he's fighting space mafia members, and they're not in the mafia suits that you would think, like these Italian mafia, the Russian mob. No. It's just they're just people in monster costumes. But the villains, and they're called something Maku, Makuu. They have the Maku space. The villains will take them to at the end of the episode. So the villain will take them there and be like, yes, this is, I'm more powerful here. And it's, the narrator's just, will Gavan be able to fight the evil villain? Usually, yes. Right? Like, about 10 out of 10 times, yes, he can fight them. So, just about. Maybe a little margin of error. He fights them in the Maku space. But another great, way to translate that word, because, of course, space is just a strange word to use, especially in English. The Maku zone, or dimension. So, so when it was really interesting how it's just, you're in the Ringo zone, and you see all these rings because it's his area. And I was like, wow, they've watched, because it's something where it's just, you have to know it. Where it's not something I think that you just randomly look up. Like there had to be one of these staff members. Maybe they didn't watch it like when they were a kid because, not a lot of people really get into the Japanese stuff like, of side of it when they were kids, especially because when we were younger, it was so hard to find subtitled versions of these shows. But I think you know this, Satish. We talked about this. Gavan, Metalder, and Jaspion were put together in America, and they became VR troopers. Who adapted that? Saban again. So they became VR troopers. And it's kind of the thing where it's like, oh, wow, I liked the VR troopers as a kid. Googles it now. Wait a minute, that's Space Sheriff this. Technically Metalder isn't the sheriff, though. But he's just Superhuman Metalder. Superhuman? Yeah, Superhuman. Superman Metalder. So, yeah. So it's the idea of, I enjoy this. Let me look it up now. Wow, I really enjoy it now, too, because I'm still pretty much a nerd. And then it gets put into here. Which I love that process, where it's just the fact that they just are able to say, we're putting this in here. Sure, why not? Doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, it makes sense. I also enjoy the fact that the Ringo zone is just ridiculous as fuck. Whereas, like he said, it's just a bunch of rings. And I'm like, God damn it. They knew exactly what they were doing. It was just ridiculous. And
what I really found funny, too, sorry to interrupt, is that it reminded me of Hoopa.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Because you're talking about the unreleased Pokemon, I believe, because I don't think this.
But it's been announced.
Yeah, we all know about it because it distorts time and space with like a hyperbolic space-time hole.
Right. No. Oh, there we go. Sorry, we have Space Sheriff Sharavan, Space Sheriff Gavan, and Space Sheriff Shider. Wow, everyone forgets about Shider. I love Shider.
We have 3 Space Sheriffs?
Yes, we've only had 3 Space Sheriffs because remember they were under the brand of Metal Heroes. Metal Heroes.
It's funny because
yes.
I said we've had 3, as in like the sense of wow, we actually had 3 of them, and you're like, yeah, we only had 3. We should have had like 10. And my head is like, why did we have 3? 1 would have been fine. I like the contrast there.
Because they ended up having a crossover at the end of the 3rd one. Well, remember, think about it like this. Ready? Metal Heroes is its own thing, right? Metal Heroes being its own thing, aside from Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. But Super Sentai has the general, we're always a group of either 3 to 5 spandexed heroes. Kamen Rider. Sometimes 1 to 2, now about freaking baker's dozen now. But at the time, there were, a few Kamen Riders. And they would just be, we are based on bugs or lizards or something like that. Where Metal Heroes, it started off as just, you are metal. But where does it evolve into that? So they had a lot of series where it would just be, B-Fighter, which became Beetleborgs here. They had 2 of those. They had Rescue Police series where there was one called Winspector, one called Soul Brain, one called Exceedraft, one called Jan Person, one called Blue SWAT. So at one point in the 90s, they were like, okay, let's focus on police here. You see? So it's kind of a thing where they didn't want it to just be, Space Sheriff. So they were like, Metal Heroes, where do we do this? How do we kind of, it's like, well, let's make them Space Sheriffs, and then we'll see where that goes. And then they did 3, and they were like, all right, now let's just, yeah. So. Yes. That is how much I know about things that have no relevance. What?
No, I'm just laughing because it's like I'm making an offhand joke and you had the explanation to it. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. It's just like I feel like I can find the most obscure thing out of Sentai. Yeah. It's like, so why were there 6 of these Rangers? And you're like, actually, in Japanese lore, 6 was a lucky number for the specific type of thing that they were representing.
You want to know something great? They've only had one Purple Ranger because purple is the color of death there.
That makes sense. To me, over here, purple is the color of the death of my boners, so I kind of understand where they're coming from. Purple is not an attractive color.
Oh. This is where we are. I think it's time to say goodbye, Garnet Universe. Let me check my notes, but I think it's time to say goodbye, Garnet Universe. Hello, Watermelon Steven. Something else that we can just completely go nuts for, which is terrible.
Really, really major to point out. Are we good to move on?
Actually, I hate that I did. It's major, but I think it's something we can get through a bit quicker. 2 things. First off, I can't believe she actually became Super Saiyan. That was great. Garnet's a Super Saiyan now. 2. Okay, so as you know, that was Steven's voice actor. That sounded like a teen during the narration at the end before it flashed back to Garnet and Steven.
Mm-hmm.
I find that extremely interesting because I sit there and go, wow, you could do a teenage Steven in the 2nd season or more likely the 3rd season. This show doesn't necessarily have to end. It can chronicle this boy's life.
Basically.
Or at least his early life, where in a way you look at, if they let it happen. But I say that it could because you look at something like Dragon Ball Z, and it basically chronicled his life, Goku's life. So where, I love Superman, and it's really funny. A lot of my students, speech and debate, are tell me, I don't like Superman. And I'm like, cite your sources. Come on, you want to debate me right now? Cite your sources. Why don't you? And it's great because we always just have this discussion where they're just like, I don't like him. He's this. And I'm like, come on. Like, he's overpowered. I was like, you like Goku. It's like, stop it. It's like, I'll send you home for the day. It's just, I have the power to send you home. But anyway, but a lot of my students talk about Superman, and I will give them this. We didn't really get to grow up with Superman, for the most part. I mean, we kind of did. I think there was one series, and of course there's been graphic novels that have depicted younger Superman, but we haven't really grown up with him like we had gotten to grow up with Goku, right? But now we look at Steven, and we get to grow up with him. I'm really thinking there might be a day, you can weigh in on this before we move on, but I think there's going to be a day where we're going to have an older Steven.
I mean, they've teased it a little bit already with the idea of, so many birthdays? Yes, so many birthdays was the episode when he lost control of a gem and he aged. And so It's interesting because Steven is half human, half gem, so you look at, Pearl, Garnet, and Amethyst, and I really sit and think about, what Steven's lifespan is supposed to be. Because in my head, just because he's human, he should gain extra power from that gem. So, he hypothetically, they've lived for 1,000+ years, supposedly, Pearl, Garnet, and Amethyst. So Steven's not going to hit 1,000, but he could probably hit 150. Because
honestly, I think he could hit 500. And I think what he can do here is when he gets old, when he's able to control himself, we could have a Steven that becomes, let's say he's old enough to be with Connie, and then Connie passes. He can probably choose to just go, you know what? I'm pausing my life here for human standards. He can do that.
That's interesting.
I think he can end up doing that because right now he ages because he doesn't know how to control anything. I really feel like if he knew how to control it, he wouldn't be able to pause because the gems still age, but they age in a way where let's just pretend their lifespan is 1,000, right? I would argue because he's been diluted by half, he can reach 500. Or scarily enough, if you want to use the Dragon Ball Z, since we're bringing that up so much, in Dragon Ball Z, they've actually been able to become Super Saiyan quicker than they were previously, a lot of the kids. And and what people say, I don't think it's been referenced directly in the show, but people say is that, it's because they've been mixing with Saiyan blood. Doesn't make them strong with human blood. Doesn't make them stronger necessarily, because it's not like saying that Gohan is automatically stronger than his dad because he went Super Saiyan, because you do need to have the training behind it. But I mean, Goten became a Super Saiyan before the age of 10. Gohan in his early teen years. And Goku, I would say late 20s, and then Vegeta, Vegeta even later, because Vegeta is, I believe, a good 8 years older than Goku.
Yeah, and even if you look at it that way, we've got Goku and Gohan and then Goten. And Goten was fucking Super Saiyan when he was Steven's age.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. No, a bit younger than Steven, actually. Goten was technically 6.
He was 6?
It depends on the dub, but Goten was not 10. He was younger than that. Yeah, no,
sorry.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's why people were going nuts.
Just according to popular belief, Goten is not 10. And I just laugh because I'm like, you name a kid after a number, and just as a kid, it's just kind of amusing because it's like he's probably 10. His name is Goten, right? And I think that was my logic as a kid watching Dragon Ball Z. He looks about 10.
No, he was younger than that. Because you look at Trunks, little Trunks, and he was 10, I believe. Because again, he was a bit older than Goten. So let's say he could be 9. He could have been 10. Goten could have been 7. The point is that even then, still Super Saiyan. So it's something that just the legendary Super Saiyan. Just oh God, remember before I know we have to move on so quickly, but it's just thankfully our hour-long show has been extended to an hour and a half. So we're working with that tonight. But because we haven't done this in so long that I think we just have such great Steven Universe. Just
we haven't gotten out our references. In the whole idea of Steven reminded
but anyway,
me of
so yeah. So no, I just was bringing up the idea that I remember in Dragon Ball Z when all the kids were turning Super Saiyan, when all the kids and then the dog and everything, Vegeta looked at Trunks and Trunks was just like, yeah, and jumping around. He goes, the legendary Super Saiyan, it's like achieved by a child. He's looking, because that was the whole thing where it was like, Trunks, if you hit me, I'll take you to the amusement park. That's what he had to do to train his kids, who just accidentally happened to achieve, the powers of the legendary Super Saiyan. How great is that?
Putting that in perspective. But
yes. Anyway, so so we talk about Watermelon Steven now, and another great episode, I would argue, and again a quote unquote filler, but it's one of those situations where it's just, hey, let's all sit down and learn something from this, shall we? It's I feel like some of this show is Rebecca Sugar and her staff trying to teach kids how to be better people when they grow up, and hopefully those lessons sticking so that we don't have all the bad shit that we have in the world right now.
Yeah, I mean, something that's, I guess, interesting is Steven, although he's childish, he has to mature a lot faster than the average kid his age. And I like the fact that not only is that shown throughout, some of these episodes, because, you see the way he reacts when Baby Melon dies, and he loses it, But he's also paired up with a lead in Connie, who is already really mature and intelligent for her age. So they fit really well as kids, where they're able to balance the things out where, like, they want to do fun kid stuff, like, hey, let's go watch the movies right now. But they also have moments of, like, clarity where something happens and they're able to pick up on it. And so I didn't think Watermelon Steven was going to be one of those, like, maturity-type episodes or anything like that. I just figured it's going to be filler. And it'll be fun because I'm like, all right, it starts off with, like, the ridiculous exchange between him and his dad. And I'm like, all right, so this is going to be fun and dorky and just another one of those, like, filler-type episodes, and it'll be hit or miss. And then they get to this idea that he can do what Rose did, and it's not to say that he couldn't before, just he's now able to apparently create sentient plant life to defend him, which was one of Rose's things. That's the plot part
brilliant.
of the episode.
You know, that was brilliant, I think, because just the idea where it's just, wow, you know, you have such fun in this episode, but you're able to kind of reveal that immediately, and you think, wow. You know, that's like, damn.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the way it manifested, because Steven, of course, I assume that Rose could do it instantaneously at the point where she was, because she was so talented, but Steven's actually had to grow, which was interesting. And they weren't sentient at first, it seemed, or at least they didn't reveal that to be, but they had to grow. Like, it took a night for them to actually become, like, you know, entities.
Right. Yeah, and I assume that's because, you know, not only does Steven not know how to control them, but it could be a thing, again, because Steven is half human, and because they are part Steven, therefore they grow. You know, and also Steven, you know, I would argue, because he doesn't know how to control them, I think he could make fully sentient ones in the future if need be. But as of right now, it's the idea of just, you know, he doesn't know how to make them, so he made them, and because they are an extension of him, they live and they breathe, you know, like every human does moving forward in life.
And what was funny to me was also the idea that not only were they just sentient plant life, but they were fucking little Stevens. I mean, they were just little versions of him, and that was great.
Little
and
Watermelon Stevens.
I laughed at that because I'm like, what water? You know, we've already had ridiculous episodes like Cat Fingers, and it's just like, good God, which got really dark.
Yes,
but you know,
it was cute at first, and then it
seems like they like doing that stuff where it's like it's cute at first, but remember, kids, life can be mean, and so. But with Watermelon Steven, I mean, even in the beginning, I'm still into, like, this whole, okay, this is going to be fun and stupid, and let's see what it goes with.
Hurricane speed spin!
Yeah, I liked just that ridiculous exchange, because it's subtle stuff that they do there, where first off, it's like, okay, Greg is hanging out with Steven, again, and it's shown that, like, he may not live with them, but he's really making an effort to be in Steven's life. And it's nice, because, like, I really come to appreciate Greg as a character. I mean, his like, ridiculous character was probably one of the things that made me appreciate the show in the first place, besides, you know, him, like, the song and everything to Rose. But I like their exchanges a lot, because it accentuates, like, what they are, where he allows Steven to be a kid, and he gets to be a fun-loving, you know, laid-back father. And you can see that Steven reflects a lot of those qualities in terms of being bold, but also laid-back and fun-loving, you know, and...
Yeah.
Body figure-wise, too, Steven is not, you know, he's a bit, like, you know, he's a bit chubby for a kid, and that's nice, because it makes us all feel a little bit better. But
yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just, what I like is that, you know, in this episode, and I think even in, the thing that I love about, when you look at, you know, Steven, and of course, we mentioned this before on our other shows, but we want to make it known again for anyone just listening in tonight. You know, when you look at someone like Steven, and then you look at Garnet and Pearl and Amethyst, I really enjoy their different body types, because they're wonderful, because there's nothing wrong with a body, you know, type like Amethyst or Pearl, making that really, you know, pushing forward, nor Pearl, you know, and I think that's what's great, where you're able to kind of show, and then personality-wise, I really enjoy having Steven have that moment of clarity, because, you know, I mean, I will admit, you know, when I talk to my students, even though they're all teenagers, I try to not talk, not only because I work there, but I just try not to talk to them in a certain way, because, you know, yeah, it's like, I hate making them feel like kids, because so I've stopped calling them kids, but at the same time, you know, I don't want them to think that they're, you know, as old as I am, because they're not, you know what I mean? So, like, if they say certain things, I'll you know, not just because I work there, but I'll be like, hey, don't say that, you know, because, you know, but at the same time, though, I really do think that when it comes to actual kids, because, again, I work with teenagers, with actual kids, we have to stop. I mean, of course, we're not going to go nuts and be like, hey, you know, and just immediately just, you know, a string of curses or anything like that, but, or other inappropriate stuff. But what matters is that when they're so young, right, doesn't mean that they're stupid.
Yeah,
and that was my point.
Yeah, it's a good point, and this is not something that's not only addressed by the show, but we talk about this in general. And this is now, like, I guess my personal thoughts on the whole idea is just, if you treat a kid too much like a kid, you end up with, like, adults who just don't have a real grasp on the world, because all your life you hear, like, oh, you're a kid, you don't know anything, you're a kid, you don't know anything, and what the hell does that do to you? You know, and then you strive for adulthood thinking that the idea that when you turn 18 or when you turn 21 or when you turn 25, that you'll automatically achieve clarity on the world. And that's not true. Where you look at the characters like Steven and Connie, and Steven has seen shit. Steven's seen a lot of shit. So he's naturally going to have a bit more of a mature view on the world. He may not get to show it that often, but he's got a mature view on the world just simply because he's experienced a lot of stuff. I mean, he's had a near-death experience. He's been living without a mother, essentially. And he's gone through so much of this stuff going on in the show in terms of what we've seen throughout the episodes. And he still likes to put a nice spin on it and lighten it up. But
because he's a kid, and kids do that.
Because that's what he's supposed to do. I mean, he's not mentally 30. But I would argue that if his character is 12, which I think it is, right? He's 12 or something?
It's funny because we know we've had a discussion before where Dipper Pines and Mabel, by extension, are 12, but we believe that Steven is 10.
Steven is 10. So
I'm pretty sure he's 10.
Yeah, no, that's fine, because I know that I mix up the numbers a lot because we talk about the stuff. So, but Steven being 10, like, essentially my point was that Steven's not mentally 10 either. I mean, he has moments of childishness, but so do we. And you and I are 21 and 22. So it's not like, I just... I like that they're able to do that, and again, the ending of this episode, good example. But
yes, and also you mentioned Greg before, and and it's very interesting because it's not coming from me who is a child of divorce. My dad, and I can say a lot of bad things about my dad, but one thing, rest in peace, I love you. But one thing I can say is that he always wanted to be there, and he was always there. Again. A lot of things I can say about his personality. That is the shining thing that I always have to say, where if any, no one could ever say that he was a deadbeat dad, that he tried to leave.
I think they want to make Greg look like that type of person, where it's like, look, Greg isn't perfect, and he's not the best role model, but by, God damn it, he's going to be there. He's going to be there. And he also sometimes reflects Garnet's, idea of, Garnet is the most lenient of the three. Well, actually, arguably Amethyst is, but Garnet is the one who's like, no, Steven can handle this, no, Steven should do this, and tries to really subject things around all right, let's give Steven some free space to be Steven and grow. And Greg, in certain ways, allows that too because, and you can argue that part of it is on your responsibility, but I think he realizes that, Steven is a special individual and just isn't a regular 10-year-old because you flip it back to, Ocean Gem. When they have that whole scene with Lapis Lazuli, when they're at the the running water tower and they're fighting, and Greg makes the comment along the lines of is this your regular magic mission? Because I'm not sure if I feel comfortable letting you go on this anymore. And I liked that though because it's a very realistic thing. Where in his head it's like, wow, this is really dangerous. Do I want regardless of whether my son has powers or not? And then immediately after you have the scene where he uses a shield to stop everything. And then the subsequent episode is the one where he heals Greg. And it's just a matter of, where Greg has to respect Steven's powers. But he also, so it's nice, where I think he looks at it as, I'll let you be the crystal gem when you're with the crystal gems. But when you're with me, you can be a 10-year-old boy. And that's why we play music. That's why we do things like that.
It's a great balance, I think, for a kid, because if you want to look at the gems as if they are some kind of boarding school, super secret, top secret training, you're in some shows it would be that would be a bit more a bit less lighthearted. It'd be like you're being built to be a weapon, or even just the idea of school where it's just kids are going to school, and they need some time to unwind. And it's nice to have, one of his parents be, or, his only living parent to be the one to help him unwind and just be that 10-year-old kid. Although I said only living parent, but let's just, of course, make note that Amethyst, Pearl, and Garnet are his guardians and are his family as well. They really are.
It's definitely even. I mean, did we do a podcast on the episode where he meets Connie's parents?
Yes, we did. I love that it's been that long. Yes, and we talked about how Crispin Freeman was her dad. Yes.
Right, but it's just like when we sit there and it's like, hey, you four make a set of parents, aunts here, guardians? Guardians, yes. And I just laugh because in my head it's like, he technically does have 4 parents. And
yeah, although I would argue that Amethyst, Pearl, and Garnet are literally one combined parent, which is great because of their 3 different personalities on it, where they are one combined parent because they cannot fuse, but when their parenting skills are combined, or when they discuss one thing that Steven could or could not do, it is one full parent.
Yeah, and even if you look at it that way, this one of their personalities, I mean, Amethyst is the best friend, Pearl is the overprotective one, and then Garnet balances that out with the one who's like, you know what, no, let's let him grow a little bit. Let's let him actually try to progress, because there needs to be that balance, where Garnet can't have her way every time, but Pearl also can't have her way every time.
No.
There needs to be a balance of, like...
And if Amethyst did, the whole house would be burning down.
Right, which is why, of course,
day.
He's not indulged with Amethyst as much as he can, but he's there because, he is a 10-year-old kid, and Amethyst will have fun with him. They can sit back and watch wrestling and eat food and just relax, because Amethyst does enjoy food, which is fun.
Yes. Also, speaking of something interesting, before we move on to the actual episode itself, you mentioned the idea of, and I only laughed because of my own example, but you mentioned the idea of coddling, and how it hurts in the long run. You want to know, and mind you, I love these series of video games. You want to know 2 games that really do that to me? These recent installments, and hopefully you can agree. Pokemon Black and Pokemon X.
Oh, my God.
Hear me out. No. But what I mean is this. Not the idea of, they're giving you all these items. No, because, we've made jokes about that, but that's not my problem. Maybe it's just me, but what I notice is it feels like you're coddled for the first, X amount of time compared to the older games where, it's really like, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine. And then when they're actually going into the wild and fighting trainers, it's like, actually, you're going to die here. And it's very interesting.
It's so much fun, though, where, the issue is, of course, growing up on the earlier Pokemon, you really weren't coddled. I mean, you look at a game like Yellow, Pokemon Yellow, and, conceivably your rival could kick your ass, and he was a jerk. So you fast forward to now, and it's like your rival you have, a collection of rivals who give you everything you could possibly freaking
heal
need.
you.
They heal you, they walk with you, and it's like, God damn, you're not rivals. You're all just best friends. So the rival thing has progressed into, best friend. Pokemon has coddling. Yes, no, I agree.
But what I will admit
annoying.
is, even putting that aside, though, just the idea that when you're not facing them, it's just a really harsh world, which is strange to me because, again, you start off and it's like, we're best friends, and then, what's your nickname? M. Shizzle. We're best friends, M. Shizzle. You immediately go out into the real world, except when 8 trainers try to fight you at once. I can walk around them, right? No, they can attack you diagonally now. You're not safe.
That is a fun thing, that they can diagonally, target you. But
it's like, so that's the weird thing, where, again, you're coddled for, the first town or maybe the first town, maybe the second town, depending on how the game is structured with, what town is the real town that you leave your journey on. And then immediately after that, it's just like, it's cold, skates are now a thing. People want to attack me on skates and they're running. I don't know what's going on here, right? I feel like it's weird for a kid because it's the idea of you're being coddled, and then it's go out into the real world. Where Yellow never really did that. Yellow was just no, you're now out in the world. Starting off,
and you have to fend for yourself. And it's funny because
other than Pokemon's giving you fun stuff for your first time. I think
right, because that's been a constant theme.
I meant, Oak
both Oak, his aides, but it was funny because you look at something like Yellow specifically, and I'm thinking back, his aides wouldn't give you items later on unless you caught a certain amount of Pokemon.
Correct. So you would get something like, let's say, Item Finder, let's pretend. Item Finder with, let's say, 40 Pokemon or something, or even something like Experience Share, which was really needed.
Yeah, and I just think it's funny where it's like now the EXP share has shifted where it affects everybody and not just one Pokemon. It's not a hold item.
So much.
And it just I know you want to talk about it being a cold world out there, but they try their best to make it seem like it's really not a cold world because they made the games a lot easier. And it's disappointing because some of the stories, you look at Gen 4, Gen 5, and Gen 6 storyline-wise, and they were kind of psychotic dark, where, Cyrus is his name in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cyrus, Getsis, and Lysandre, or Lysandre, I don't know how to pronounce it, Lysandre, but they have some pretty sick plans for what they want to do with the world. And so I like that the stories are getting more intense, but it's also interesting because
we have to balance that out and be like, kids, don't go cry. Here, you have friends. But anyway.
It's a funny-ass balance, though, Matt, because it's like you're fighting a crazier and tougher human being, but it's now easier to beat them. So it's like...
And it's easier to catch these crazy hard Pokemon like Mewtwo. It's just so easy to catch a Mewtwo. You kind of just throw that Pokeball at it, and it's like, oh, man.
Yeah,
I'm not a rabid animal.
It's been a little bit easier
to... sophisticated. Yeah.
But again, that's the effect of coddling. With too much coddling. Bad thing. So it's good that Steven gets a nice balance from the people that he's surrounded by.
Mewtwo is one of three things. Mewtwo is either a brutish animal, right? He's a sophisticated British man, or the third one from Pokemon X, he just trips into your Pokeball. It's like, oopsie daisy, oh man, I'm so sorry. I mean, I can try and be psychic or stuff. Oh, Mewtwo, oh me. But so talking about the episode itself, we may have had a little bit to any of my students possibly listening. Hey, you just got a life lesson. That's what you get for listening to those guys on the radio. Now back to our scheduled program.
And now for sports. Seattle Seahawks.
Is that a food? Anyway, so talking about episode 34, more into the depths, whatever. I love Sadie so much because, of course, Sadie would be the character that would want to promote local businesses.
Yeah, no, I smiled, especially because it's Steven. And I loved Steven sitting there, and I was just going to give you one.
Yeah, well, that's just your, I remember once I was like, I want to make a lemonade stand and blah, 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 and, when I was a kid, and now it's just, I want to do, blah, 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 now it's just, I still want to, make things myself and sell them, but again, the key word is sell, because you need money. So, but then it's just like, no, I was going to give you one. I mean, I made them myself, and said it's like, no, but again, it's just great that I look at her.
I want to mention something that's interesting there on that, though. Money seems like a really foreign concept to Steven.
Right.
Because if you think about it, he doesn't have a job, neither do the Crystal Gems. And his dad has a job, but it's just when he goes to get donuts or when he goes to, it seems like the town really just gives him stuff because he's not overbearing. Because I don't know if I remember him really paying.
So here's what I would say. I would say that, and I don't know where Rebecca Sugar or her staff, were brought up, but I know that from what I've heard about a lot of small towns, and it's hard for us because we're city boys. We don't live in Manhattan, but by living in New York, and I think, in some of these areas, it really feels like, hey, can I have this? I've known you for 20 years, Satish, but I run a business. Get out, right? But I think in a lot of these smaller towns, which is what really, Steven Universe and even Gravity Falls, by extension, is trying to portray, is that you really could, go up to some people and be like, listen, I know you very, 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 very well. May I have those fries, right? And they're like, well, we sell fries here, but sure, And especially when you look at Steve,
I'm about to say the fry bits are an important thing to me because he gets the bits. And I love the guy offers, I'll give you actual fries. Just know you get the bits. And I think part of it is, there may be a respect in terms of what goes on with the Crystal Gems,
I think there's a respect, but it's just a small town feel too. That's the thing, where they just known Steven for his whole life. They've known him for 10 years. They may have known his mother. They definitely know his dad, and his dad isn't a terrible person. So I think when you just look around, you're like, yeah, we can. I mean, I just think if it got to things like Steven wants to become mayor, or Steven wants to get a car, people would be like, Steven, we can't just give you a car off the lot. But,
I do agree, and I also think that I may be misremembering some things because I know he's gone to the movies and he's gotten pizza, so I can't remember if he's actually paid.
Yeah, that's the thing. I cannot remember him actually paying, but if he did, if you notice, it's very small things that, again, his dad can probably afford, because think about it. His dad owns the car wash, and he lives out of his van. Now, many people would be saying, oh, man, he lives out of his van. He's saving a lot of money by not buying or renting real estate.
Yeah, no, so logically he can, if it comes down to, I don't want to, nitpick here, because I really love the series.
No, I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, where it's just it's fries, or it's just one little thing, his dad will just pay it off, because that's not a problem.
Yeah, and you look at the gems, and it's very foreign to Steven because, of course, the gems don't need money. And also, I would argue Steven is just the pure innocence of children, not the, once you kind of get old enough, maybe it could still happen at 10, which is also very interesting. Is that age or any time around it where it's just you get this. Also, think about this too. Steven, he does watch TV, so I guess I shouldn't say this, but I feel like a lot of the current, media, things like that really promote certain things where it's just romance, money, romance, buy this, buy that. And I mean, also you look at Steven's room and he does have things, older things, which is also very interesting because they could insinuate flea market and possible thrift shop because of the fact that he has a GameCube. But
yeah, I was going to say, it could be something like that where, remember, we identified the controller to be something like a Wii U in the Garnet episode, but he also had a GameCube. So it's is he just getting these things late? And also, he's never been to school. So it's there are some subtle things that are very, not bad, but I just question, I want a little clarity. And so with Sadie giving him money, it was really interesting for me because
he got $100.
He made was it 100 or 5? Because in my head, he made $500 because I think he said 500, 100 pieces of paper. And when Sadie paid him, it was, I think, it looked like a $5 bill.
Wow.
So in my head, he had $500. Am I wrong?
That's nice. No, you're correct. He was selling them for $5. If you're trying to be nice and saying that he sold, and say nice as in the joke made sense because they all just said, oh, $5, here's a 5, here's a 5, here's a 5. No singles. So he goes 500 pieces of paper. Or 100 pieces of paper, and it's holy crap,
in my
the
head,
kid just made
$500. And of course, he has no idea because his response was 100 pieces of paper.
Yeah, no, because he doesn't deal with currency. His dad clearly does, and of course, the Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl are training him to become a future fighter. So it's just there's no reason for him to be, to know this stuff. Also, Ronaldo's hilarious. I love him so much. Not only was he promoting him basically, through the Tumblr the Tumblr by accident. He was sending up screaming it. Hey, everybody! No, it was like the Seuss thing in Gravity Falls, where Seuss was I would love to go to this store. You can get this and even get more. That's not their slogan. I just really like the store. Right? He made up a whole slogan just because he
Right, I remember.
Yeah. So it makes sense here too. Where he's get him from Steven. He's practically giving him away. Get him now before they will never exist. And I'm what are you doing? What? But it feels like us though. When we get passionate about something, we're listen, you better watch Steven Universe if you like it, because if you don't, then the ratings will go down. The Cartoon Network will look at that as a sign of trouble, and it might not get saved like Korra did with a web series. It could die. So it's one of those situations where it's just we will promote it like that, or it's just crazy stuff where it's watch it, no! Where, you can see us in Ronaldo, who believes in lizard
Steven.
people. No, I said Ronaldo promoting Steven.
Good point. No, I just laughed because in my head I thought you were just I thought of the theme song where it's that's why people believe in the crystal gems and Steven. And in my head it's Ronaldo, who believes in Steven, lizard people. right.
Yeah,
and I just
but anyway,
because I'm like, apparently that's what Matt wants us to be compared to. Not like, oh, Ronaldo's a fanboy, that's us. No, Matt's petition to people who believe in lizard people.
Yes. No, I wanted to compare him to be the fanboy because, he was bringing up subs versus dubs in that episode. But all of a sudden I sat there and it hit me. I was like, Ronaldo, who believes in lizard people. Maybe I should clarify. But anyway, so, but also, by the way, do you know, because I know that you frequent, the Reddits for different things like Gravity Falls and Steven Universe, do you know if when he was actually, updating his site on the show, do you know if it reflected the company run, if anyone doesn't know, the company runs their own Tumblr based on Ronaldo's Keep Beach City Weird website in the show. And it's legitimately them, where they will update it during the show. Do you know if it was updated with what he was saying about Steven?
I believe it was. Like, I'll confirm right now, but literally, okay, do you remember in Ocean Gem where, the ocean disappeared, so Ronaldo took a picture and started typing?
Yes.
There was a post about that. Like, what's the picture that he took from... I lost myself because...
Was it a picture from his perspective?
Yes.
That is beautiful.
Not only is that funny, I'm scrolling down to look for the confirmation of that post, which I'm sure is there. But this is a post here. There is a picture of a hentai-ish drawn anime girl with pinkish purple hair and koala ears and koala paws for hands and a Japanese symbol. And it says, Matt, so I just finished the final episode of Koala Princess, and I don't want to get too emotional on you guys, but I can't stop crying. Koala Princess goes on a walkabout and enters Dreamtime and finally meets her koala mother for the first time. Gibberish. I've got so many feels, I don't know what to do with all this. These feels are the real deals, on wheels. What am I saying? I'm going crazy. Hashtag, I was not ready for this. This show is killing me, Koala Princess. Koala Princess spelled wrong. And Keep Deep City crying.
Oh, good God, I love this so much. But so he did update the Tumblr.
Also,
at the time.
There's a screenshot. This is it. Literally, there's a picture of the Watermelon Stevens from his perspective that says, "Check out these weird watermelon guys down by the Funland entrance. It's really weird, and they're cheap." And the post right after that is a screenshot of his watermelon autopsy.
Yes, that's beautiful. So the show is amazing. Also, by the way, jumping back to for what we mentioned before, Goten is apparently 7. He doesn't meet his father until the age of 7. So he's 7 when stuff began. However, he could have achieved Super Saiyan-ness when he was 6 because it happened a bit before. So he could have been 5 or 6 because if you remember, he was training with Chi-Chi one day, and then immediately it just happened by accident, and she was like, "Oh God." She was like, don't do this again. So he was basically telling, I think it might have been Gohan, where it's just like, Mommy cried when I did that. Because she was like, not another one. But anyway, so anyway, jumping back to the Tumblr thing. Yeah, it's very interesting that they have a legitimate Tumblr for him that is updated while the show is airing, which is just a brilliant thing. Also, you mentioned the 8-bit music when Steven and his melons were walking around. The general picture was just the cutest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. Like, just the fact that they were actually just walking like that. I was like, this is adorable, damn it. This is adorable.
It was fun with him running back and forth and chasing them down. But I really just have the little sound in my head, like, and I was sitting there like, this is a nice feeling. I don't know
what's even better?
Now, but the music, incites it in me.
Yeah. You know what's even better than that music, in my opinion? But it's all still music, which is also great. Again, something that I think, as much as I love Power Rangers, something you don't really see a lot in Power Rangers in the show when compared to the Japanese original. When they make the music in Japan, they really care. They care about what's going on in the background. Actually, though, I shouldn't, I say this about, I say this about Power Rangers because, again, usually it feels like, maybe there are composers that I don't know about, forgive me, but it usually feels like compiled stock music. Or it's usually just the the opening theme, and it's usually what's called the instrumental or just the opening theme itself, right? Where when you look at Japan, the Japanese superhero stuff, Super Sentai, it can be the opening of because the opening does happen in the episodes. It's not like America just said let's just be cheap. But what'll happen is, and you've seen this, it'll be different arrangements of the opening or the ending song. So it'll be, let's say, we're going to put in the ending song, but it's going to be a ballad. It's going to be a piano version. And you're going to sit there and be like, wow, this actually sounds really cool. And you can tell that it is the song, but it's switched up differently. Or sometimes it's just completely different music altogether, right? Mm-hmm. And then you even look when Dragon Ball Z came to America, and you love, some of the tracks made by Bruce Faulkner, as do I, for the American, yeah. So, yes, I really like that. The people who created Steven Universe, they really know what they want to do with this, which is, hey, we're not just going to either have no music or have nothing, just whatever. We're going to make sure that we're going to, emulate the Japanese and, of course, some of the times, too, the American, companies that come together to, the composers and whoever else that comes together to make these great tracks. Because the track in this episode that really got me, when the watermelons attacked Ronaldo right before they did, so when they were coming to life, the sci-fi, it was kind of like a sci-fi, like,
I know what you're talking about.
Frankenstein's monster, where it's just, where Steven's screaming, it's alive! And all that stuff. You really heard it, and you're just like, this is great. Like, this is literally a, watermelons attack, right?
Yeah,
the robot is now turning on its master, and stuff like that. And Ronaldo, like you and I, or maybe not you, but like me, if watermelons were attacking me while I had my webcam on, I would look at you and say, please tell me you're getting this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so happy.
That was exactly what you would do. You'd be getting the crap beaten out of you, and your first thought would be, keep the camera rolling, Satish. And
this is gold!
Me.
Oh man, but
yes, it makes that I understand when you compare Ronaldo to us.
Yes. Oh man, that was great. A bit upsetting that he wanted to do the autopsy though, because for me it's just like, no, they're real people. Like even when Steven's dad stepped in one, I cried a bit. I was like, no. It's like no. Like, cause just hearing, oh yeah, they should be sentient. They don't look sentient now. I guess they're not alive. No, they're growing. Crush. No, Greg. But, and then, of course, by the way, though, I really like that he thought autopsy, and they said that on the air because it also makes some of us think of the alien autopsy, quote-unquote, that happened a while ago. That was just like, oh, real alien, here's the pictures. So it's really interesting where it's just live on YouTube, alien, quote-unquote, alien watermelon autopsy. It's like that's a completely Ronaldo thing to do.
Yeah,
but so before
I understand though, because in his head it's like, let's totally do it because they're alive.
But so anyway, before we wrap everything up, we are obviously at the fight, right? The last part of this episode. Before we even talk about the sadness, what did you think about the fight itself? Like, did you think it worked? Because I was a huge fan.
Okay, so what was cool about this for me was the idea that we see a lot of implications or, like, underlying ideas about how strong Steven is, or by extension his creations are.
Mm-hmm.
And a great example, this is something I mentioned earlier, was the idea when he pulled out a shield in the Lapis Lazuli episode and just stopped everything. So, and of course, he's got bubbles, and so he's got a lot of defensive strength. And so these plants are supposed to be sentient to protect him. And the fact that they were able to hold their own, I mean, yes, it was a lot of, like, quantity versus, like 3 crystal gems. But they were doing some damage as much as they were amusing, which I'm sure you're going to touch on, too, in your little synopsis of it.
Yes. No, I love this fight. And also, as we always mention on the show, but, I need new listeners, we really love just the way these fights work, where you can tell, last episode, if anyone tried to say, for some reason, anyone maybe new jumping in going, come on, there doesn't have to be a Dragon Ball Z reference. I mean, sometimes these things just happen, right? When you watch this episode, you can really, like, if they were put in a pair like we did right now, because sometimes Cartoon Network airs them, in out-of-order pairs. So if they aired them, like 33, 34 or something, just like, hey, watch these, these two, right? And someone saw it who never saw the show before, they would go, all right, these people may know what they might know what they're talking about. There's a chance they may know, because you can tell this is inspired by things like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Fist of the North Star, Saint Seiya, and many others that we just don't have the time to talk about here. But you can really see that in terms of how they fight and when they fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I love the fights themselves, and I love how adorable these things are, even when you were telling me, they're not adorable, they're evil, but not necessarily evil, but, they're not on the side of good. But I just laughed, because to me they're adorable, because they're beating down Amethyst, and she's crying, and they're digging a grave for her. They didn't say it, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is a grave that they're going to basically throw her in. And what does one do? We should give her flowers for her grave. I was like, damn it.
Didn't she comment on them? Didn't she comment on the flowers?
I don't remember if she did. I think she may have commented on the fact that it was like they're digging, they're going to put me in there. But I just see them walking in with the flowers. And the point is, they didn't comment on the flowers. And I think that's what's more funny about it, where they can't speak, I know, but they're just walking. Here are flowers. Mm-hmm. And it's just, this is where we will bury you.
It was a beatdown, man. And
it was.
And I was into it, where it was like, okay.
Yeah.
So if Steven really harnesses this skill, it's going to be really, really significant.
Oh, yeah, no. What I can also see in the future, and I mean, it'll have to be a series finale, or it'd have to be a movie situation, I think, because of how astronomically huge this would be. But another half gem who is not lived the life that Steven has. Because you see how Steven, everything worked out. That's why and I say worked out in the sense that, yes, his mother is gone, but you know what? Everything else worked out very well for him to be able to live a life that allows him to, train his powers and, with all of his strength, work for the good in the world, right? That's how, that's the thing. It's like, it's all good for him. There has to be someone out there who has the exact opposite life. And I don't know if the series will ever touch on it. That's why I said maybe a movie thing, because movies, with anime, they're very non-canon and exclusive. Or in terms of series finale, because that would be a huge thing to end the show on, where it's just, Steven has lived his life with all these good things around him. What if someone didn't? Because it's a very huge thing when you think about it, where he can harness his power when, the fact that they were an army, it made me think, for evil, for an army. But no, he never would. But what if there is someone who would, or who would think to? And I think that's a very interesting concept that they could pick up in the future.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely something worth mentioning. And of course, we talk about there having, something like that is more of an adult theme. And more we're seeing these kind of adult or mature, I guess, if you want to say that, to avoid sex ideas. But Baby Melon turning into a sacrificial lamb, a martyr.
That made me so sad. Yeah.
I didn't expect it, and it really took me by surprise. Where I was like, "Oh my God, that just happened!" And he did the fucking pose. He did the freaking arms out sacrificial pose, and I was like, dude.
Yes. Yeah, no, before that I laughed because I didn't realize that was coming. So it was kind of just, Baby Melon, how do we end this carnage? You die, Stephen. Right?
Yeah, because you were on the phone with me. Because you were like, oh, he hit him. He's going to fight him. No. That's not what's happening.
He made them all think that he was a threat to Steven, and threats to Steven must be compromised. And, rather, Steven's health has been compromised. We must eliminate this threat. And they eliminate him, and it's just, wow. And the fact that he was able to control them all. And it was just like, go away and think about what you did. And they're like, we did wrong. We don't know what, but we did wrong.
And who said it? Was it Garnet was spoken like a true leader or spoken like a true king?
Yes.
Or something?
Yes.
And that was nice, and then he ate a piece of Baby Melon.
Oh, yeah. But, I think it's one of those things where it's just...
joke-wise, that's great. I didn't know how to feel where I sat there and I cringed, where I'm like, that's not cool.
I think it's one of those things where it's just like, use all of the animal. The problem is that the animal was your friend, part of you, your pet, whatever you want to call it. But still, it's just, I think it's one of those things where it's just like, well, he is a melon. It's like, at the end of the day, well, he is a watermelon. But, no, but it was really sad, and, it really hit me. And something, to not end it on that note, I want to end it on a good note before we jump into all of our promotional stuff that I always do. The good note is that Amethyst went Sonic for the fight, if you noticed, where Amethyst literally curled up into a ball and went, and I was like, what? How did what? And again, I love this show because, and also the fact that, they've been pushing heavily for Nintendo, right? Heavily for, Nintendo or, old school RPGs, which, I usually played on the Super Nintendo. So they've really been pushing, this. But I like that it was just like, no, Sega, here, have it, because it's nice to know it's not just like, I'm not going to say that they're being, pushed to promote only Nintendo products. But it would be very, funny if someone tried to make that, where it's like, they've never even tried to promote Amethyst becomes Sonic. All right, we're good. But although I will admit, Nintendo is definitely something that I grew up with, and I know many that did. I love Sega, I love Sonic, I love all, video game, brands and companies. But still, it's very... it's an interesting thing where it's nice to have people who have had a similar childhood to you in that regard, making the shows that you can watch.
We're getting up there in age. In age. All
right, let's try to forget that. So anyway, thank you guys for listening to those guys. Before we end, I would like to say, promote all of our social media accounts, all 80,000 of them. So if you like our show and you want to listen more, please go to our Tumblr, thoseguysonthe.tumblr.com, where we have a lot of different shows on a lot of different things. We've had Steven Universe, of course, but we've had Gravity Falls. We've had WWE Monday Night Raw and some of their pay-per-views. We've also had Gotham, Black Dynamite, The Flash, Mike Tyson Mysteries. Let me see. We have said Gotham, Flash, Arrow. We've had Supernatural. We've had the following, actually, at one point or another. We've done, we've done Dragon Ball Z movies. We've done Bleach movies. We've done Pokemon video games. We've also done, The point is that we've done a lot, and you can go and search through our archives and see the older stuff that we've done. We're also on iTunes, so if you search up Those Guys on iTunes, you can find us there as well. We also have our Facebook, Those Guys on the Radio, where we / Those Guys on the Radio, where we also update some of our newer stuff. We also have our Twitter, @Those Guys Radio. We have our Instagram, / Those Guys on the Radio. We have our Gmail, Those Guys on the Radio @gmail.com, where you can email us there for any promotional opportunities. You can promote your product or your company on our show. And of course, you can send us suggestions. So you can say, "Oh, hey, what if those guys did this?" And we may be a fan of it. I mean, Satish is a fan of both My Little Pony and Metabots. Something that maybe if you've been a long-time listener, you'll know. But if you're new, you may not know that. So that's the thing. So just send us show ideas, and we'll do them, or at least we'll consider, and we'll talk to you about it because we love hearing from you guys. Oh, and I didn't promote our YouTube, which our YouTube you can find through our Tumblr and through our Facebook. It isn't an official YouTube yet. It's not a real boy, but soon we'll be able to name it Those Guys. And but we're having a lot of fun with it. Hopefully you guys have seen some of our videos. If you haven't, again, check us out through our Tumblr and our Facebook, and you'll get to see some of our videos from there. So thank you guys for listening in. Want to say something before we cut out, Satish?
No, I'm good. I had something in my mind, and then you said a lot of words, and I just completely lost it.
Growing up, the video games.
It wasn't even anything emotional where it was like. It was more like just a random comment on Steven Universe. And I got nothing, and I'll figure it out one day when we get to the next set of episodes, which are already out.
All right.
So we might do them next week.
Goodbye, everybody.